The Ringer Gambling Show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football fans, the wait is over. The NFL is back, and the best place to kick it off is on FanDuel. Because every game day during Week 1, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat NFL bet. From the money line to player props to same-game parlays, your no-sweat bet can be used to any NFL wager type. And if it doesn't win, you'll get bonus bets back. Phillies wide receiver Jahan Dotson, you could take him over a very low number of 7.5 receiving yards. He's averaging just over 35 receiving yards a game against the Cowboys, a team that has struggled against wide receivers. Last year, they were bottom 10 in receiving yards allowed. So you could go to Jahan Dotson over his receiving yards tonight. So this season, make FanDuel your go-to app with any snap. Just visit FanDuel.com/gamblers to kick off the NFL season with a no-sweat bet every game during Week 1. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and over and present in select states, or 18 and older, present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund, $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply, including token expiration. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Week 1, we've got a bunch of big games coming up. And I am really excited because one of them features my Baltimore Ravens, who are getting redemption on the Buffalo Bills. I don't really like to call it redemption. At the end of the day, the Ravens lost in the playoffs and they died. So they're now into the next season. They're no longer, or not at all, I don't have any faith in the Ravens in the postseason, but I do have some faith in them for Week 1. The line flipped from the Ravens at +1.5 to now favoring the Ravens on the road in Buffalo at -1.5. Raheem, do you have any faith in the Baltimore Ravens to go back and avenge their playoff losses?
So you guys who've been listening to the Ringer Gambling Show the last couple of weeks know that last week I gave out the Baltimore Ravens +1.5. You look at that line right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, the Baltimore Ravens are favorites by -1.5. And I told you guys this would happen because you look at the Buffalo Bills. Their whole secondary is in the hospital. And then the guys who are playing aren't very good. I mean, you look at rookie pick, Maxwell Hairston. He's on IR. Trey White, he's Larry Holmes status, flabby and sick. Like, what can you expect out of him at this point? They just signed Jordan Poyer. Like, they might as well have signed me, you, and JJ to play in the secondary. And I know Isaiah Likely is banged up. I don't care. The Baltimore Ravens are by far the better team here. And if you look at the Buffalo Bills last year, you remove the plays in which they forced turnovers. They were 28th in EPA per play on defense, and they had a league-leading 33 takeaways. So if the Baltimore Ravens don't turn the ball over like they did in the postseason, and Mark Andrews doesn't, fumble and drop 2-point conversions, there's no way that the Buffalo Bills win this game. Give me the Baltimore Ravens. They win this. Honestly, I think you could sell points on this game. I think you could lay probably Baltimore -5.5. They're going to take them into the deep waters and they're going to drown them. They're going to step on them. Mark my words.
So I'm not just sucking up to you because it's your first show with us.
No, are you guys going to clean sweep me?
Oh, you're damn right we're going to clean sweep. This is going to be a Ringer 107 play. I think when it's all said and done, we'll get into that a little bit later on. I love the Ravens as well. Raheem brought up some excellent points, but I'm going to look at this from a more emotional type of standpoint. This game should, in theory, mean everything to Baltimore. After what happened in the divisional round last year, at the end of the game, Andrews, the beginning of the game, Jackson, the idea that they've had to sit on now for about 6 months, a loss to Josh Allen, a loss in this particular building. And when you see the line move the way that it has, when you look at the revenge spot with Derrick Henry and his ability to go and dominate on the ground, then I hope the Baltimore Ravens don't forget, by the way, like they did in the divisional round game, that, hey, Derrick Henry is on their team and you want to give him the ball as much as humanly possible. But I am going to make it a family play, Ariel. We're taking the Baltimore Ravens. I like them as well. I think they win the game. I'm not going to mess with the 1.5. I'll play them on the money line. Baltimore outright.
I love that this is setting up for a decent teaser leg spot. So, like, I liked the Ravens at +1.5 to tease them up to 7.5. Now you can also tease up the Bills to 7.5, which gets you a nice little play. But I feel like those people who call a game on game day, like Herb Street, who doesn't give picks for the game that he calls. I'm not giving you a side for this because it just comes across as homer. So I appreciate all of you for supporting my Ravens week 1. This game looks like it could be an over. I know that the defenses are strong, especially the Ravens defense looks real strong. But early on in week 1, the Ravens secondary tends to struggle and they always let up big plays. I have a few props that we'll talk about in the next segment, but Josh Allen should go deep on the Ravens secondary. He should definitely test them. I could see it going over. I could see both defenses being rusty and both quarterbacks and offenses having a lot to prove, especially the Ravens. Everyone's probably going to be on Mark Andrews to score a touchdown. By the way, Mark Andrews said he kind of just dismissed the whole, yeah, I don't really care. We're going to Buffalo. It is what it is thing. Because obviously, why does he care? He shouldn't care. It's not the playoffs anymore. So why should Mark Andrews be carrying in from last? This isn't making up for what he did in the playoffs. Mark Andrews knows that scoring a touchdown in week 1 doesn't make up for the playoffs. It's just another touchdown in the mind of Mark Andrews. So everyone could bet Mark Andrews to score a touchdown all they want. I really don't care. But there is a game that is a very fishy line. I always call it a fishy line. I know that you guys call it something different. The Green Bay Packers are -2.5 at home against the Lions. We are talking about a Packers offense that is without most of their wide receivers. You also have a quarterback that got a little banged up in the preseason, but non-throwing hand, whatever. Everyone in the world and their mother is going to be on the Detroit Lions because they're getting 2.5 on the road. And the Lions, on paper, should be the more well-rounded, healthier team, right? Well, JJ, then explain to me why this line feels so fishy with Green Bay laying 2.5 still.
So you call it fishy. I call it a rat. I smell a rat. You're 1,000% spot on. This line reeks to the high heavens. I think it's a couple of elements here. One, the Green Bay Packers are fast starters these last couple of seasons. Now, maybe you didn't see this 2 years ago when they got off to a sluggish start and then they ended up rallying, winning 4 or 5 in a row to get to the playoffs. But you look at LaFleur, his teams are usually ready to go. Number one. Number two, Detroit. Everyone's looking at Detroit saying, hey, it's the same team from last year. Is it? You have a new offensive coordinator. You have a new defensive coordinator. Ben Johnson is out the door. Aaron Glenn is out the door. I know we all love Dan Campbell. I know we all love the talent on that particular roster. They're still a very talented team. I think the Green Bay Packers are the right side in the game. I think Jordan Love is a man on a mission this season. You mentioned a health of the wide receiver room for the Green Bay Packers, but they have a lot of interchangeable parts. They also have a lot of physicality that they bring to the table. Look, Detroit has played really well against Green Bay. They beat them in that regular season finale in Rodgers' last game back in 22. They took care of business in 23. Last year, they won both games, including a thriller on Thursday Night Football when the Lions basically had nobody on defense and Jared Goff had to go and win the game on 4th down. The Lions kept going for it. I think you're going to see a little aggression as far as 4th down is concerned. And I think Green Bay is going to be a much more complete offensive team than what they were a year ago. I like the Green Bay Packers, Raheem. That's how I play this game. It's Packers and pass.
So I actually don't think this line is fishy. This line opened up Lions -1.5, and it got bet to where it is now at Packers -2.5. I look at my model right now, the Packers are -2.6. That's where I have it. And I think one thing that you have to remember about the Green Bay Packers is that they probably have the highest home field advantage in the NFL outside of Denver. You're talking 4 to 5 points. So I think that matters. And you have 2 head coaches who they do get off the fast starts. I mean, you look at Dan Campbell, 11-3 against the spread in September. You look at Matt LaFleur, 15-6 against the spread in September. But I think the key here is that the Detroit Lions are not the same team. They got a new offensive coordinator. Ben Johnson is gone. They got a new defensive coordinator. Aaron Glenn is gone. And more importantly, we speak about those quarterbacks who don't play in the preseason. Jared Goff did not play in the preseason. Last time we saw him, he threw 4 interceptions. And now you're supposed to perform with a brand new offensive coordinator and Frank Radnow, Hall of Fame center. He retired. You lose Kevin Zeitler. He leaves. So now the offensive line, the strength of that team, the heart and soul of that team is not there. You got a new offensive coordinator. The quarterback doesn't play in the preseason. I think McNeil is hurt on defense. So you have all of these things going against the Detroit Lions. And that's why you have so many people selling on them. So I think you got to lay it here with the Packers. I mean, I can understand how it looks a little fishy because the Detroit Lions, they've been the cream of the crop the last 2 years. I mean, they were number one seed last year, 15-2, but I think this is the year they regress. And I think this is the year that you buy on the Green Bay Packers.
We love the Packers, Ariel. That's a future I had before the Michael Parsons trade at 22-1. And Detroit, remember, this is a team that wants to be able to run the football at a high level with Gibbs and with Montgomery. That Packer run defense, I think, will be up to the challenge. Green Bay is the play.
I like Green Bay laying 2.5. Just think that the number is telling you all you need to know, and knowing that the Packers are the favorites for a reason. And if they thought this was any closer, it would look like the Bills-Ravens game at -1.5. Raheem, you mentioned something that stood out. The Green Bay Packers being obviously having the home field advantage, one of the best in football. How much of that is because of weather later on in the season as opposed to just, crowd noise in September?
That's actually a good point. I probably need to study that a little bit more, but I think...
You don't got a metric on that?
Yeah, I don't have.
That's not your model?
That's not my model. I just know, like historically, the Green Bay Packers, I mean, their home field advantage has just been great. I mean, even like I mentioned the stats about LaFleur in September, and, a lot of those were home games as well. So I just think their home field advantage is just not something that you can't disregard it at all.
There was another line that is fishy if you've been tracking lines like I have the last week. I'm going to go to Mr. New York for this one.
Okay.
The New York Giants have the line moving in their favor. Washington was +6.5. That number's now the Giants were +6.5 against Washington. That number's now come down to Giants +5.5. Everybody loves Washington. They are the public darling. Everyone likes them to potentially have value in winning the East over the Eagles, especially now that Dallas lost Micah Parsons. Yet the Giants are getting the love and the line movement. JJ, how much are you willing to start your season taking points with Big Blue?
Well, this is where I have to give my credit to Mr. Raheem Palmer, who said about a month ago when we were doing our NFC East division by division breakdowns, grab Giants +7 while you can, because it fell at 6.5. And to your point, Ariel, it's now all the way down to 5.5. And you asked me a question about my willingness to get on board with Brian Daboll, Russell Wilson, and a team that last year, no doubt, was the worst team in the NFL. I don't care that Tennessee had the number 1 overall pick. The Giants were the worst team in the NFL. But guess what? It's not 2024 anymore. It's 2025. I'm on Big Blue, baby. I'm taking the points. I'm going to sprinkle a little on the money line. I think they are going to go to Washington and win in week 1. I hope you are not watching, Joe House, because the point you made about the Washington Commanders and regression, I think is totally fair, justified, and beyond reasonable. I love Jaden Daniels. He's a stud. Is he playing 17 games again? Are they going to be as good on 4th down? Their defense still leaves a lot to be desired. They added an incredible amount of age to that team. You had the whole McLaurin situation throughout training camp. Raheem, I still like the Giants in this spot. I know people are going to say you're not getting the best of the number here. You're not. But guess what? They're going to win the game.
Yeah, so there's a lot of trends for the Giants. Dogs, 78-62 against the spread, 56% in week 1. Dogs that missed the postseason last year in week 1, 59-45, 57%. Divisional dogs, 31-16, 66%. Now, let's look at this line. Last year, the Commanders, on September 15th, the Commanders were laying 1 against the Giants. They won 21-18 in a game the Giants should have won.
Giants screwed it up.
They could not kick the game-winning field goal. The field goal kicker got hurt. They go for it on 4th down. The Commanders drive down, kick the game-winning field goal. So they lose that game in a game they should have won. November 3rd, Commanders, they're laying 4. They win 27-22. How the hell do you get the 7? And now we're at 5.5. How do you even get to 5.5 with a better Giants team? Look at that defensive line. They add Abdul Carter to a unit that already had Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns. One of the best defensive lines in the league. Russell Wilson, A lot of people going to say Russell Wilson, Larry Holmes status, flabby and sick. That guy can still throw the deep ball. And against this Washington secondary, you're talking about a team that's bottom 10 in EPA per play. Russell Wilson should be able to cook. Now, more importantly, you're going to get some regression from this Washington Commanders team. You're talking about a team that went 20 of 23 on fourth down, 87%. They couldn't be stopped on fourth down. They're the greatest team of all time. And then you look at the quarterbacks they played last year. Daniel Jones, Andy Dalton, Caleb Williams, Daniel Jones again, Cooper Rush. They lost to Cooper Rush. Will Levis, Jake Hayner, Spencer Rattler, Kenny Pickett, Trey Lance, Deshaun Watson, and they beat Joe Burrow. We might as well have said they played Ariel, JJ, and Raheem. So, yeah, give me the Giants.
Yeah, basically what Raheem is saying, Ariel, bet to watch the Commander under for the year, which is something I already did, and I'm glad Joe House.
Under 9.5 wins?
Under 9.5 wins.
I'm not going that far, but I'm fading them this weekend.
That's right.
Hey, Giants, Packers, those two lines standing out to both of us, all three of us going into week one. Definitely be wary of them. You should at least go 1-1. I always say the fishy lines tend to break even at 500, but the Giants are the book, is what the book has told me. Every odds maker I've spoken to has said that the Giants is where they're getting all of their really smart money on for weeks now. And I know that Raheem and JJ, two of those guys. There was a line with -2.5 on those San Francisco 49ers that stood out because the Seattle Seahawks, brand new team. Sam Darnold coming over to be their quarterback. Cooper Kupp is now a wide receiver. Just everything that we remember the Seattle Seahawks to be within the last 3 years is no longer. The 49ers, on the other hand, a team I'm very high on this year. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL. They return eventually to some point when everyone gets healthier. A team of Super Bowl contended players. Everyone was in it. Brock Purdy got his big deal. It feels almost disrespectful. Now, I know the Niners are on the road in Seattle, which tends to be a tough place and a loud place to play as well. The 49ers just know what they've got, and they've got their defensive coordinator back from when they went to a Super Bowl. So I just like the 49ers a lot. I think their defense is going to be more improved, and as long as they stay healthy, this team knows what it takes to win, and they're going to be a really tough defense for the Seattle Seahawks to get through. Raheem, thoughts on San Francisco laying 2.5 in Seattle?
So I think this was another one I gave out too, right? San Francisco -1.5. It's now 2.5. At the current number, I'm a little bit suspicious because the 49ers come into this matchup a little bit banged up. Jawan Jennings has been banged up. Brandon Ayuk is still out. And if there's one thing we could say about the Seattle Seahawks team is that they're a really good defense. Mike McDonald, I mean, he's just been tremendous. You saw what he did with your Baltimore Ravens. He comes to Seattle and they had a top 12 defense per EPA per play and success rate. So I'm struggling with this one just because I just feel like the 49ers are a little bit banged up. I kind of want to buy back on Seattle. I don't really want anything on the side in this matchup, but I think this could be a sneaky under. I really do. And a big reason.
Total dropped by a point in the last week.
I think the problem with this game is that, and the problem with the Seahawks in general is that you got Sam Darnold, who I believe is a complete fraud. Like he played with the Minnesota Vikings, KOC, one of the best head coaches in the league. You saw the receiving weapons he had over there. You saw the offensive line. This Seattle offensive line is abysmal. It's not the same offensive line. And even though he does have, what's my guy's name? JXN. He has him. He could throw the ball to him. He's not going to have time to throw. So I think this is probably a lower scoring divisional matchup, but I don't want anything to do with the side.
So a lot of the trends in this game are probably going to point to Seattle with those home divisional dogs. You're going to hear that. You're going to see that a lot throughout the course of this week one card. You have a couple of these games that kind of fit that motif. Tampa and Atlanta fits that motif. This game kind of on brand. We talked about the Chiefs and the Chargers. If I were playing this game, and this is not going to be a part of my five for what it's worth, not one of my favorite plays of the week, I lean towards San Francisco. I have too many questions about the Seattle offense. Raheem mentioned the offensive line. I wonder about what Sam Darnold is going to look like now in a new environment. And I also look at San Francisco as one of those teams that just came off a year from hell. Everything went wrong for them a year ago. And you get McCaffrey back. You have a healthy George Kittle. Brock Purdy, something to prove, a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and a revenge game for a meltdown the Niners had against Seattle going back to last season. Not one of my favorites, Ariel, so I won't be playing this one, but we make a pick because that's what we do around here. Niners, 2.5.
I also like that San Francisco can use their running back, Christian McCaffrey. And obviously they've got more of a loaded backfield. But of course, Christian McCaffrey going up against the Seattle defense that struggled against the run for large parts of last season. So that could help dictate pace of play for San Francisco as well.